That's one of the reasons I wanted to have you on the show, is to talk a little bit about Manitoba politics, because a lot of the things that are happening in Manitoba, it's sort of it's happening all across the conservative movement. You have a conservative government that was elected to do certain things, and they seem sort of weak on those issues. And there's the fake news that's happening there. So why don't you give us a bit of a roundup of what's happening in Manitoba politics?
Well, in this instance, we're going to focus on provincial, Manitoba meaning provincial politics,
yes,
opposed to what's going on in like Lynn Lake or something. The provincial government has clearly decided that they are going to go to the polls early, based on Tom Broadbeck's column today in the Winnipeg Sun. It looks like that date is going to be September the 10th. The election otherwise wouldn't be held until October of 2020. The putative reasoning of Premier Pallister is that a political campaign in the middle of the Manitoba 150 celebration, the anniversary celebrations, would put a government in a position of being accused of politicizing various, events and perhaps politicizing funding decisions, or I don't know what. The real reasons for this are, far more related to the political chess game in Manitoba than worrying about sullying anniversary celebrations per se. There is, let's address that fake news. The media here they are not on good terms with Premier Pallister. He's a difficult guy to get to know, and he's legit. He's got genuine skepticism anytime he deals with the media. I don't think he's helped his cause by creating the aura of being inaccessible a lot of the time. He went out of his way to say that even in this fake pre-election, non-mandatory, but we're going to impose our own blackout, he's still going to make himself available. So he's trying to mollify that. But the fake news revolved in this case most recently around the DDay commemoration, where Premier Pallister did not appear at the ceremony. And the headlines in, I think, CBC and the Free Press are really at the forefront of this. Here was Pallister's missing. And I mean, he took a lot of, I hate to use the term actually in relation to DDay, but he took a lot of flack for this. First of all, it's fake. Anytime there's a headline that said he's missing, he wasn't missing. He had gone to a meeting with an agri-processor that's investing, if I'm remembering correctly, $400 million in a factory in Portage la Prairie. This, I think, relates to the pea production that's become very important part of our economy. So he wasn't off sun tanning or collecting autographs or something, or sightseeing. But I felt, and I'm making this statement, on a very personal level, I thought that these stories were ridiculously unfair to the member of the legislature who took Premier Pallister's seat at the ceremonies. John Reyes, he would be a respected member of the legislature no matter which party he were representing. He's a multicultural ally, a respected amateur professional, I guess it is, sports official. I did not know him at all in my radio days. When he first met me, which was about 6-7 years ago, he was effusive in his praise for the kind of work that I had done, and I wasn't really familiar with his background. But he's the kind of guy that when you meet him and when you talk with him and see how he addresses issues and public concerns, you can easily picture him being elected as a liberal or as a New Democrat, quite frankly. He's very personable, and he's a military veteran and deserved a lot more respect than he got for the premier to have made the decision. And granted, his itinerary said he'd be there. And I haven't talked with John. I don't know what the background was to the switch. But for him to make that decision, to let a military veteran who is respected by everybody, I've never heard a bad word about John Reyes, and for the media to criticize this, it is like a backhanded slap at John Reyes and the legitimacy of him representing Manitoba at these ceremonies, of which there can be no question. And I think it was really unfortunate. Again, the Premier's office maybe could have handled this better in terms of putting out an explanation announcement ahead of time why. But the choice of John Reyes to represent Manitoba at this kind of a ceremony commemorating the sacrifices made by all the Allied soldiers, and frankly, as well as the loss on all sides in war, it should not have been. It should not have been approached by the mainstream media the way they did, because it, to me, is really disrespectful of John Reyes.
That's an excerpt from my weekly show, The Gun Show. It airs every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. Each week, I bring you an informal interview with an interesting newsmaker or citizen activist you might not have heard of, but who is making a big difference in Canadian politics. And we'll talk about issues in a way you'll never see done in the mainstream media. To subscribe, go to therebel.media/shows.